Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Edge of Adventure podcast. My name is Adam Asher, and today we're going to travel to Malawi to get to know an organization that works there in Southeast Africa, bringing vital food, education, and healthcare to a very precious group of people in desperate need. Also, in so doing, they bring the kind of hope that changes things and changes lives forever. So join me now as we get to know Tad and Carly Glibert of Circle of Hope International. They are my guests today here on the Edge of Adventure podcast. Thank you both for joining me. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You know, I really appreciate your heart. I discovered you guys on social media, in fact, on Instagram. Got to know you a little bit there, and I realized these are the kinds of people that the world needs to know about. And of course, that's what we do here on this podcast: is we get to know great people like you who are doing something with their lives, something pretty fascinating, something meaningful. So, welcome to the show. And I know you guys are joining us actually today, thanks to COVID. You guys are, I think, landlocked in Ohio.
Yeah, that's correct.
So I know you miss Malawi. I can tell from all your social media and the different platforms. You guys love Malawi. So first of all, I need you to tell us, what's it like? What's it like over there?
Yeah, so Malawi is on the southeast side of Africa. It's a very small country, about 19 million people, but it's very poor. Like you're saying, most of the statistics show that it might be the poorest country in the world, but most show that's for sure top five. And so there's a lot of farming community, a lot of rural area. Most people don't have electricity or running water. They go to the bathroom in the hole in the ground outside, and obviously poverty is a big issue, starvation is a big issue, and so where we are based out of, it's nothing different. We're in a very rural, poor area.
So you fell in love with Malawi, though, somewhere along the line. When did that happen? How many years has it been? You guys have been working there?
For me, it's been 8 years. I went on my first trip in 2012, and that was just a short-term trip, about 4 weeks. And the reason I fell in love is the name of Malawi. Its nickname is the warm heart of Africa. And you see that immediately. The people are so warm and loving.
And okay, so you went on a short-term trip, and then how did you get involved with Circle of Hope International? Okay, you guys work with them. When did that start? And did it all go back to that the trip 8 years ago?
Yeah, so that first trip I went on, my sister had gone on a trip with Circle of Hope International previously, and she invited me to go on a return trip for her. And so it was my first time. And then, like anything, word spreads, and eventually I got Tad to go along with me, and he fell in love too.
Okay, so was that tough, Tad? Were you like, I don't really want to, or were you like, okay, no, I'm all about it?
So I mean, it took me a while. I mean, I think I was really busy, so I didn't have time to make a trip halfway across the world for an extended amount of time. And so I knew she loved it so much. That's where her heart was. And so because I love her, I decided let me check it out. And I fell in love pretty much immediately when I got over there. That was in 2017. And then I went back in 2018, and we had an interesting experience that summer when we were there. We actually there was an armed robbery that we survived, and shortly after that experience, I felt like the Lord was calling us to live there full time. So we moved there back in October of this past year.
Okay, so let me get that right. You had a scary situation, and it didn't scare you away?
Yeah, I mean, that's whenever I tell that story, a lot of people are like, why are you going back? Like, why? Right. You're crazy for going back. But that's how much Malawi means to us, how much the people of our community means to us. And that's how much the Lord was really working on my heart on calling us back to serve those people.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about what Circle of Hope International does in the country of Malawi. Um, you guys have uh, an education system. You run a school there. Tell me about the school.
Yeah. Our school goes from all the way from preschool age 3 through standard 8. So what in the United States we'd call 8th grade. And we're looking to add a secondary school here soon. But yeah, it was a huge blessing for the community that we were able to start a school. We started small. We kept adding a grade every year until we've gotten to where we're at now. And we charge about $1 per semester for a child. We found out that it is important for parents to invest into their children's education, but we also, because we're in such a poor area, we need to make it affordable. And so we've seen huge growth in our community by having a close school that kids could attend. Because a lot of kids, they don't have any way to get to another school. So they would just skip and they would just work at home or stay at home. And so having a school so close in the middle of a couple different villages, it's allowed kids an easy, short distance place to go.
I know as well, if you look at the statistics, homelessness is a big deal. What did you guys face in that regard there? Did you, in addition to the education and the school, you guys have also sought to meet needs in another way, which is just for those who don't have homes. What's the scenario there?
Yeah, so when Circle of Hope started in 2006 by a woman named Karen Roller, who is still our executive director today, she aligned with the Grace Lions Church, and really the biggest need that they needed at the time in their community was a feeding program. So she started a feeding program in this area where our center is located, and after a couple months was looking at these kids, and they're like, why are they not getting healthier? Why are they not growing? And they kind of dug a little deeper into it and found out it's because they were homeless and they were orphan children. And so she's like, I need to do something. And she started this orphanage, and it was a couple of kids at that time, and now it's grown. And we have about 50 right now that are staying with us full time. We've had a lot of kids move on and go to secondary schools. We've been able to pay their school fees and have them move on to secondary school. And we've fortunately been able to reintegrate some of our orphans back with extended family members. Because that's really the goal. The goal is not for them to live with us. Some kids have situations where they don't have anywhere to go, but if we can get them reintegrated with extended family members where it's a safe environment and they can learn what it's like to live in a village and live that way, then that's the best thing for the child.
What is the transformation like, though, when you go from a child who doesn't have food, maybe doesn't have a place to stay, certainly not getting any kind of education? What's the transformation like when they get those things, right? So then once you guys have had the chance to work with them there at Circle of Hope International in Malawi, you get the chance. What's it like on the other side of it when their life has changed?
Every child is different. As humans, we're all going to be unique in whatever experiences we have. So we've seen all sorts of different reactions from kids as we take them in, and as well, their background is completely different. So some of them are coming out of homelessness, or they have been abandoned, or maybe they were abused in various ways. Maybe they came to us when they were an infant and they don't even remember their previous life. So all of our children have a unique story and a unique background that kind of factors into how they have transitioned into our care. But the thing that stands out to me the most are some of our kids that do remember their previous life and their previous needs and what it was like to have nobody, to be completely on their own, and to now have stability in their life, but also to be able to look forward to their future, because that is something that they don't have when they are living for the day-to-day and just trying to survive. But to see these children develop dreams and goals and be focused on school and think about what they want to do for a living, and see what a family is like, see what love is like, and to be well cared for. It just absolutely changes them. And it's awesome to see that transformation in their lives where they get to be kids instead of get to just suffer and try to make it through every day.
So the biggest thing, right? I have to imagine that for that child, for all the different ways they're being cared for, it all drives home one primary point in their life, right? Which is that they're loved. And I got to imagine that this has something to do with what hooked you guys on being involved and staying involved, watching them know what it's like to really be loved.
Yeah, I mean, for us, faith is a big part of our lives. And so, we were fortunate to come from homes that have two parents that love us, have siblings that love us, that we're well taken care of. And, very clearly in the Bible, the big message is to love others and to serve those around you. And so it's no different in Malawi as it is in America. These kids want love. These members of our community, they want love. And so that's what we try to give them. And then we can see it kind of reciprocated back to us, as well as other people in the community, kids at the school and things like that. So, yeah, like Carly said, the nickname of Malawi is the warm heart of Africa. And it really shows. If you would spend any time in a Malawian community, you could really see why it's nicknamed that.
So this is the Edge of Adventure podcast, and you guys know me. My name is Adam Asher. What a privilege and honor it is to get to conduct these kinds of interviews and chats. Today, our guests are Tad and Carly Glibert from Circle of Hope International, and they work with that organization in Malawi. So if you want to find out more information about them, you can hop over to their website. There it is on the screen. If you're watching this on video, you'll see the screen there, cohcommunity.org, cohcommunity.org. And you can also check them out on Instagram, which is actually a great platform for such things. It's where I discovered you guys. And I thought, actually, what I wanted to do, for those of you watching on video, I want to pull this image up. This is from your Instagram feed. Okay, let's take a look at this right here. And I love these pictures. I mean, they say so much. They say so much. Is this, you see there in the top on the screen with the video, the top right hand? Is this a typical village in Malawi? Is this where you guys work?
Yeah, like I said, we're in a rural area, so people usually have mud huts with straw roofs. Nobody has electricity or running water. So that picture is a very accurate picture of what it looks like around us.
All right, so that's where you guys are working, and I see great pictures of happy faces. Look at this here, the young child on the bottom left-hand corner. I'm guessing they have an appreciation for a meal that a lot of us, maybe we've never really been hungry, so we don't know what it's like to really appreciate a meal.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know what that's like either. A lot of our kids came from situations where they experienced hunger on a regular basis. And so thankfully for some of them, it seems like a really distant memory. But that picture was actually taken at something we call family dinners. And our kids in our orphanage, they're split into family units so that they have maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 other kids in their family unit. And then they cook together and they do family activities together to try to remove a little bit of that institutional feel and make it a little bit more like what a village life would be like with your family. And so Tad and I will host kids on Wednesday nights, and they come up and they cook. And that night we made spaghetti. So.
Okay. Fantastic story. And again, if you're watching the video, you see me smiling here. This is what I live for, guys. Learning about these types of organizations and people, and what a beautiful people they work with in Malawi, and what beautiful people they are, and that they work with to, people that care about others in this way. So one of the other things I noticed is that you guys, I think it was not even, I don't think it's been that long, but you guys launched maternity centers there on your campus as well. What are those? And as we look at the Instagram pictures on the screen, I think one of those pictures there in the middle is actually, I'm guessing, from that facility.
Yeah, so I will try not to be long-winded because I can talk forever about this. But so we have healthcare services at our facility. We opened an outpatient department in 2019. And that is just like what you would think of as a doctor's office, where you have an illness and you go and you see the doctor and you get treatment. But then most recently, just this month, we have launched our maternal care services. And this is somewhere where women can come for their prenatal checkups. They can do labor and delivery at our facility, and then all the postnatal checkups and education and things like that. So the picture you're looking at is our doctor, Dr. Kaucha, and he is standing next to a machine in our NICU that helps with warming and monitoring babies after birth.
Yeah, you did a great job. That's not long-winded. That's not long-winded. You are. That's exactly right. Okay, so and when did you launch this again?
So I believe our open date was August 7th, maybe.
Okay.
I'd have to confirm that, but I mean, just in the last couple of weeks.
Okay. So this is really brand new. That's
Yeah.
okay. Unrelated question, but it's been on my mind since we started talking. When do you guys anticipate being able to go back? Obviously, COVID and that whole scenario it affects that. But what would your plans be, and what do you think is a reasonable expectation? Because I'm guessing you guys are ready to get back over there.
Yeah, we're definitely ready to get back. Luckily, the Malawian government announced last week that they're reopening schools as well as the airport starting in September. So we don't have all the details of what that looks like exactly, but it looks like here in a couple of weeks, we will be able to go back. And so we're going to get on the earliest flight we possibly can to get back there. And so we're just excited to get back to our life in Malawi.
So how much time of the year do you spend there versus time back in the States? Yeah.
So when we committed to living over there, we were just living there full time. And so we weren't planning on coming home since when we moved back there in October. And unfortunately, because of coronavirus, the board of Circle of Hope voted, let's bring them home. This was right at the end of March. Let's bring them home, just because they were worried about safety and things like that. And so since that time, we've just been living here and working with Circle of Hope from Ohio. So.
All right. Well, hopefully very soon all of this will pass and you guys can get back over there, because I can only imagine your heart is over there and you want to get back. What are some ways that the listeners and the viewers can help if they were to, if they're called to find out more information? They look you guys up, and again, the website is cohcommunity.org. COH standing for Circle of Hope Community, cohcommunity.org. They go there, they like what you're doing, want to find out more. What are some of the immediate needs that you guys have?
Yeah, a couple of ways they can help. So first off, we have a sponsorship program for all of our kids in our orphanage, as well as all of our kids in our school. And so we have about almost 800 kids in our school. So it is a large school. And so if they want to sponsor a child, they can get online on our website and do that for $30 a month. So that allows us to take care of those children, to buy materials at the school so that they have that for their education, for staff salaries, for the women that take care of our orphans, as well as their health care and things like that. If you do follow us on social media, or if you check out our website, we usually have another project that is coming up and about. So most recently is our maternity, and that was a big project. And so a lot of people just donated straight to Circle Up on that. And then The other way is just to look into our teams when they go over there, and if you're interested in joining one of those teams. So typically every summer we send an education team that works at our school, a health team that works at our clinic and now maternity center, and then an evangelism team that goes out in the villages and kind of preaches the gospel. But that doesn't mean you have to have any skills in those in order to come. So we've had people come that are, social workers, or they like to do manual labor, or they like to do electric and solar. So any skill that you have, we can find a way for you to help our community.
So what's your background before you got involved in this? What was your career? What were the kinds of things that you thought you would end up doing, and then you got led in this direction?
I'm a nurse, so I worked in orthopedic med-surg and then at the ICU for about 5 years. And then I have my degree so that I can teach nurses. And then that never happened, because about the time that I was finishing that degree, we decided to move to Malawi.
And mine's kind of all over the place. So my undergrad is in math education. So originally I was going to be a high school math teacher. But then I got my master's in athletic administration, and I was a Division I basketball coach for 5 years before moving to Malawi. So I do a lot in the schools. Unfortunately, basketball doesn't really exist in the part of Malawi that we're in. So maybe eventually I'll bring it there. But yeah.
But I can see, though, and I can see, knowing that as your background, I can see where this is. You're perfectly prepared for this this work there in Malawi. Talking today with Tad and Carly Glibert of Circle of Hope International. They are based in Malawi. They're going to get back to Malawi, and all of us in 2020, we are adjusting to COVID, so they're landlocked over here at least for a little while longer, and then they're headed back to their home in Malawi. Okay, you guys, I'm going to ask now a couple of other types of questions. Okay, these are the kind of questions that I really like. So let's start with this one. Why are you doing this?
So behind everything that we do is the fact that we love Jesus, and we value what the Bible says about the way that we should care and love for other people. So we, as Circle of Hope, try to imitate the ministry of Jesus in the way that he loved and cared for other people. And so in Malawi, it looks how we have structured our ministry, and that's trying to help in areas of healthcare where we feel like there are injustices, and help in schools where we feel like education could be improved to improve the development of the community. So ultimately, all of our programs are a way for us to, one, build up the community and do that development work, but also to have access to community members and be able to share about Jesus with them. So everything we do is in partnership with the Grace Alliance Church that exists on our campus. And so, yeah, there's the partnership between the church and the organization.
What would be one of the most heartbreaking things that you witness or have witnessed? Maybe a particular story that comes to mind that, it just broke your heart, or a scenario that repeats itself that is hard to take?
So I have become very close to one of the children. He is like my son now. And so I've known him since my very first trip in 2012. And so I think because it's very personal to me, it breaks my heart a little bit more than other stories. So it doesn't mean that his story is any worse than anything else that other people experience. But to me, it has become very personal. And so he was abandoned when he was about 6 years old, and his 10-year-old brother was taking care of him and his 4-year-old brother. So they were completely on their own, and he almost died because they were not getting enough food. And so there was one night, and I was not there during this time, but a different team was there. They held him and they prayed through the night, and he survived the night. And so then it was rehab for him. and getting the nutrition that he needed, and he grew and he is strong. And then there were several years of like challenging behavior because he had been through a lot at that point. One of the things we see a lot in our area of Malawi, probably a lot of Malawi, is witchcraft. And they came from a home where witchcraft was very prevalent. And they had seen a lot of things that very much impacted their mental and emotional health. So there was a lot of years of behavioral issues and lying and stealing and just whatever else you could think of. And so we see a lot of that over and over again. The toll that witchcraft and things like that have on different children, the toll that abandonment and abuse have on different children. And that just breaks your heart because they're innocent and they don't deserve any of this. And so at the same time as that breaking our heart and being a driving factor in all of this, seeing the result on the other side is also a driving factor, because I have seen him grow into the most wonderful young man in the world. He is 17 now, so he'll be 18 next month. And he's a totally different person. He has been transformed. And so it doesn't have to be the end of the story for any of these kids or for even adults. Like, it doesn't matter what has happened in your life. There is the ability for transformation and for Jesus to come in and breathe life.
Great answer. So, yeah, and I know, I can sense how much you love the people, how much you love that young man as well, and you're there with a desire to make a difference. And I'll ask Tad, what do you guys, what comes next? Obviously, getting back to Malawi. What do you sort of feel like is the next phase or the next project that you guys are going to undertake? But this, you never know what's coming, right? You never do. We didn't have any idea what we were headed for in 2020. But what's next for Circle of Hope?
That's a good question. It's something that we wrestle with all the time of when to grow and when to stop and try to just really build up what we currently have. So short term, it's with our school opening up next month, it's figuring out a way that we can bring kids back to school safely and do it the right way, because in Malawi, there's been a huge problem with child marriages in the last 6 months or so, because kids are out of school and they kind of just put school on the back burner and just say, I'm going to get married at a young age, or teenage girls get pregnant and they kind of are forced into marriage. And so getting our school back up and running is like our short-term, like really big project that we need to do. But after that, I think our secondary school is what our big main focus is going to be. And so being able to have, there's not a secondary school really anywhere close to where we are. And so being able to have that in our area and allow kids to go there for an affordable price will even transform our community even more. Since we've built our center and seen education and given people in our community jobs, it's really stimulated the economy, and it's really driven a lot of families out of extreme poverty. Doesn't mean that they're well off now, but our community economically is doing so much better, just because of all the services that we provide and the stimulus of money in our community.
Fantastic conversation, getting to know great people today here on the Edge of Adventure podcast. Tad and Carly Glibert of Circle of Hope International in Malawi have been my guest today. Great new friends, and you guys can you've seen now, as you've watched and listened to this interview, you see why I wanted to introduce them to you. They're doing great things along with their whole team, that whole organization, and all the people behind the scenes who support the organization, because you guys know that these organizations are able to do what they do because they have partners, people who do pray for them and give to them financially. So those things are crucially important. So everybody who is watching this and who is already a donor and giving and supporting, big thanks to you as well. You're a big part of this. And if you want to talk about, get to know them a little bit more, find out more about what they're doing. Maybe you've got a heart for Africa or a heart for Malawi in particular. Definitely check out their website at circleofhopecommunity.org. That's, that Circle of Hope International is the organization. The website is cohcommunity.org. They're on the website. You can check them out on Instagram as well, also on Facebook. And you definitely need to just get to know them a bit more. And you know what? If nothing else, you should reach out to them and encourage them, and just let them know that you support them and appreciate what they're doing. So as we wrap up here, guys, let me ask you this. It is kind of the final parting question. What else do you want the viewers and the listeners to know about Circle of Hope? Is there anything we didn't cover? And then I need your word of advice to the audience. What do they need to hear today?
So yeah, I mean, what I would say is really just keep an open mind on what life is going to throw at you and what Jesus is going to call you to do. For me, I was in basketball coaching. It was a dream for me to be a Division I basketball coach. And so I was fortunate enough to land a position fairly quickly after college. And so I thought that was going to be the rest of my life. But I went on a trip in 2017, just saying yes because she wanted me to, and it completely changed my life. Obviously, now we're living there, and we gave up our lives in Chicago to live in one of the poorest countries in the world. So my advice is to really just keep an open mind on what Jesus is calling you to do, because you never know what that's going to be and what that's going to look like.
Well, thank you both for joining us today. Thank you for your work there. Thank you for your patience. We'll just have to stay in touch. I want to have you guys join us at some point from Malawi. I mean, I don't know what the internet connection's like in the village, but we'll get an update from you guys at some point in the future. And in the meantime, just thank you for taking the time today. Thanks for telling your story. And most importantly, thanks for caring about other people and doing what you do. It's an inspiring story, and I appreciate you telling it.
Yeah. Thank you. We appreciate you having us on whenever we have the chance to talk about Malawi or Circle of Hope. We love sharing about it. So thank you.
Well, God bless you both. We'll be in touch, and thank you all for joining us again today for another edition of the Edge of Adventure podcast. Thank you all.